Hello, beautiful people, and welcome, to a video on the Trail of Behemoths event, the combat event for patch 5.3. As I'm recording this, there's still a week left to this event, and I have just earlier today, because we finally got the last boss release, I have gotten plat on all 4 of them. And I want to talk about this event because honestly, 1, I really like it, and 2, I think that this is exactly the sort of content that should exist as difficult content. And I want to see more things like this. So let's explain why. Before we get into like what the event consists of, let's explain why stuff like this is really good, at least in my eyes. So the first thing that you may notice is that I have platinum 1 star, but there's nothing here that says platinum. So getting platinum doesn't get you any additional rewards. Like, none whatsoever. Literally nothing, it's just for the flex. And then on top of that, even getting gold doesn't really matter that much because the rewards that it gives you is basically like the equivalent of about 10 resin, 20 resin if you get 2 stars. Right? It's really not that big of a deal. So an event like this is an event that helps introduce people to difficult combat event without making you feel like you're missing out on a lot if your teams aren't strong enough to clear the event yet. It's a sort of event that rewards you for building your character as well, because you get to have the feeling of achievement from successfully obtaining the platinum without having to feel like ass if you can't get it because you're not missing out on any relevant rewards. But the main reason why this event is something I like is because this is an event that is balanced around C0 5 stars or C6 4 stars at really high investment. Right? You'll notice I have platinumed all 4 of them, but all 4 of them, right, 130. And by the way, in order to get platinum, you need to clear in 130 or less. 130, 125, 128, 129. And honestly, pretty much the only one where I had a bit of wiggle room where I could have cheated out a little bit of additional time was Tulpa. But like, this is very much balanced around relatively well invested non-whale characters. But then on top of that, I really like the fact that the difficulty in the event, like, sure, there is something, like, there is the potential DPS check for if you want to get plat, but even if you have the damage to get plat, the difficulty in the event also comes from not dying. These bosses do a lot of damage. Some attacks even go through burst iframes. It forces you to properly interact with the boss mechanic, which I think is really cool. I don't know if I'd like seeing this sort of stuff in Abyss, but for temporary events, even if there was a permanent event where you get a new boss every week, I think this kind of shit is cool. Anyways, that's pretty much it from why I like this event so much. There are still some things that are annoying. Mainly, I don't think I could have gotten plat if I didn't have specific characters on actually every single one of these. I think if I didn't have Maoika, I don't think I would have gotten plat on this. If I didn't have Zhongli, I don't think I would have gotten plat on this. If I didn't have Nahida, I don't think I would have gotten plat on this. And if I didn't have Neviet or Farina, I don't think I would have gotten plat on this. That I think is a bit unfortunate, but I mean, it's something I've mentioned a bit in the Power Creep video, but at the end of the day, when you're playing a gacha game, you need to have a certain amount of tolerance for content designed to make you pull for specific units, because if you don't, you'll never survive. Like, that's just a reality you have to accept. Gacha games do that, and it's something they're always gonna do. It sucks, but if they are gonna make content where, like, you need to have a specific unit for it to go well, I'd rather it be content like this, where if you don't have it, you can still get the rewards, and even if you do have it, if you don't play very well, you still won't get it. So let's go through all of these bosses, their mechanics, and a few tips to help you get yourself your clears in time. So this boss is pretty damn tanky, and at the start, it has increased resistances. And then it does this attack, which literally just f***ing one-shots you if you get hit by it. Once it's done that attack, it does its pillar attack like this, and you have to climb up the pillars and break them. While it's down, it has significantly decreased resistances, so you can do a good amount of damage. It then does its one-shot attack again. A lot of its attacks do enough damage to one-shot you, by the way. And then eventually he'll do this attack again. And you can do this. Whenever you break his 2 pillars, his resistance will go down like I've already mentioned, but he also takes damage. If you manage to fill up his Night Soul thingy bar here very quickly, it is possible for him to spawn his pillars twice before your 90 seconds are up. Don't trust what the hitbox looks like, because sometimes this happens. But yeah. As you can see, right, you can get a second break before the 90 seconds are up. That being said, you're still not going to have enough time to start doing your second rotation after this. And so, what you need to do is you need to reach enough damage that through 3 proper rotations, including 1 when it's down, you do enough damage that getting the additional 2 procs of breaking the things is all of his HP. The second time you break his pillars, you do it to get the percent HP damage, not so that you get a rotation without the rest run. So, let's take a look at what a successful run looks like. Oh, it was. Okay. So, start by getting your rotations as quickly as possible. Make sure you don't die to the thingies. Do a little bit of additional damage, like this. It's honestly not that much, because by the time the burst goes through here, his resistance has gone up. His resistances go way up while he's spawning the pillars, and that generally starts towards the start of your second rotation. It is technically possible to get 2 Mawiko bursts before he gets resistance up, but it's really hard, so I didn't get it there. But still, this additional damage, even through high resistances, is relevant. Because I really just barely had enough damage on this run. And then here, you want to make sure that you get these pillars as quickly as possible, so pre-jumping,
instead of confining themselves to the heavens,
like this,
God should broaden their horizon.
And doing dash, jump, fly, plunge to get the second pillar as quickly as possible is what you want to do. Then I do a second rotation. Well, technically it's the third, but it's the second one that actually deals damage. Here, I actually f***ed up. I didn't get a melt on my burst, but I looked at its HP and I was like, this is pretty much the amount of damage that we deal when we break the pillar, so I might still have a chance. Make sure to be ready with a bike, pre-jump. And as you can see, with this, we just barely got it in 130. And I thought I'd failed, which is, yeah. Next was the Legatus Golem. So, Legatus Golem started by just vibing. He does an attack that pretty much will never hit you, then never hit you, and then this ball can hit you, so just make sure you don't get hit by it. That was not it. Whatever, it's fine. And then after a few attacks, he'll spawn these... like, resonance thingies. You want to break them. And that is going to deal some damage to him. Oh, I broke them too slow. My bad. Breaking them will deal some damage to him and reduce his shield by half of its value. Or half of the maximum value. But as he starts that attack, he will start regenerating a bit of his shield, I believe. Or am I wrong? Oh yeah, he does. So he regenerates a bit of his shield, so make sure you account for that. Every time these pillars send out a shockwave, and then it breaks half the shield and a decent amount of his HP. Now, he does not stay down for very long when you break his shield. While his shield is up, he has really high resistances, and while it's down, he has negative resistances. So making sure you knock him down as quickly as possible matters, but what matters even more is that he doesn't get up before your damage is done. Because of that, if all you do is focus the shield and try to break it as fast as possible, half of your Mawika charge attack damage here doesn't really go through because it happens after he shields back up. And so what you want to do is you want to make it so that when you break the pillar, it brings his shield to very low HP, but it doesn't kill it. And you can do that by keeping the shield around half HP before he does the triple thingy attack.
Solidify.
And here, because the shield is low HP, I get to have my things happen at much better intervals, and I end up being able to get my whole... I think I missed on the last melt because I was a little slow, but almost my whole charge attack thing while he's down. The main reason why I'm using Zhongli here isn't actually anything that's happened so far. I'll show you why I'm using Zhongli. But we'll do the same start. Because everything we've done so far you can just do with the Claymore attacks, right? We even had to slow ourselves down for the shield breaking here, right? The reason why we want Zhongli is for the next part. I think I just missed my burst. That's fine, I don't want to talk about it. It's because when his shield is low HP, he will start the violin playing attack. And while he's doing that attack, his shield starts regenerating. And if you don't have a good way of doing damage to the shield quickly, you lose a lot of time to this attack. A lot. Right? By the time we shield back, or we break his shield, it's already been 90 seconds. So you need to have a way to, as his violin playing starts, get rid of a lot of his shield quickly. Zhongli is a great way to do that. You'll also be able to do it using Navia, if you have her. And I'm sure there are a few other Geo characters that can do it like that. Here I was a little slow at the end, but it is what it is. But that's the basic idea. We can take a look at what a successful run looks like. On this boss, I needed to use food, and if you don't have a lot of food and you want to make sure you don't waste it, remember that you can use your food after you down him, because you don't really do any damage before you down him. So the start, pretty much exactly the same as what we've already done. That specific attack is kind of annoying, but it is what it is. You can immediately start walking towards where the pillars are going to spawn, or the resonance thingies, whatever. I don't know what they're called. Okay, here I eat my food. And again, you get most of our rotation. And you can see here, right? If we missed out on the equivalent of the second half of our first charge attack, we wouldn't have cleared in time, right? So making sure that we didn't break him with the resonance pillar thingies themselves, but instead kept him at low shield is what makes the difference in this run. We have 5 seconds of wiggle room, but if he shielded back up, that wouldn't have mattered. Next, we have the Tulpa. And honestly, this boss was kind of cringe. So the thing about the Tulpa that really annoyed me is that the hitboxes are kind of weird, and the timing is kind of weird, in a way where it feels like you die during your iframes very often. Xiangling is really good against the Tulpa, so use her if you have her built. And then other, like, pyro carries in general are also really good. The main, like, mechanic that's different on Tulpa versus the usual Tulpa is the way he spawns his mini Tulpas. Right? Because these guys are f***ing tanky, dude. If you just try to break them like this, we didn't even break it in time. It's possible, but it's a lot harder. And this is why Nahida's on the team. Because with Nahida, all you have to do is this. And the Tulpas are dead. That's it. That's why Nahida's on the team. And honestly, you use Nahida if you have her. It trivializes the mechanic, pretty much, yeah. She's also a Catalyst user with an EM buff, so you can give her TDDS plus, like, you use her burst. And that ends up being a pretty big buff, where... Right? Our Xiangling is hitting for 31k without her. And 42k with her. The biggest upside of Nahida is that you don't have to go target the mini Tulpas. You use her E once, and then you keep targeting the big Tulpa, and they're gone. You don't have to waste time trying to break those shields. That's the first mechanic that's different between this Tulpa and normal Tulpa. The second one is the shield. For around 50 seconds, a little bit before 50 seconds, assuming that you're doing the stuff normally, he'll spawn his first wave very early into you beginning the fight. He'll then spawn the second wave after a little bit over 20 seconds. And then a little bit before 50 seconds, right, he'll spawn this third wave. And he's gonna get a shield. This shield is very tanky, and vape and melt reactions, but I guess in this case only vape reactions, don't do anything to it. Or rather, they don't increase damage. It's as if you were not reacting. You want to break that as quickly as possible. There is one upside to the shield, and that's that it resets your cooldowns and refunds your energy on all of your characters. What that means is that characters like Arlecchino can end up getting a lot of additional Bond of Life by doing 2 E's. And characters like Xiangling can end up doing a lot more damage by getting 2 Pyronados. This is why this is the team that I've been using. So let's show in practice how that works. But yeah, so here, just start the rotation normally, get Nahida's buffs on Xiangling. Make sure you break the mini Tulpas. And on Arlecchino here, you don't care that much about getting the perfect combos because Tulpa always has a Hydro Aura, so you're never gonna accidentally get a Pyro Aura and start not vaping. So it's not that big of a deal if you don't do the optimal combos. And his attacks hurt a lot, so you want to focus a lot more on dodging. Also, when he does his multi-hit combo where the last hit is an attack where he slams down on the ground like this, they have added an aftershock hit that does not target in the middle, which is why, as you can see here, right, I frame the first hit here, the second hit, and then the third slam down, I frame it, and then run in the middle here so you don't have to try to iframe the aftershock here. Here, the main thing I'm focusing on is making sure that I use my Xiangling exactly as it comes off cooldown by swapping into her and waiting on her and making sure I have the energy. If I do that, the mini Tulpas will spawn right after that, which helps line up the timing. But also it lines things up for the third rotation. Alright, so we help line up the timing here. We use our burst as soon as it's off cooldown, and just like that, we reach the right before 50 seconds when he resets our cooldowns, and we can get a second Xiangling burst. After that, we get our Bond of Life, we go back to Nahida, make sure we break the mini Tulpas, back to Arlecchino, and we start vibing. We reapply a skill and re-get our Bond of Life immediately, just so that we get maxed out Bond of Life. And thanks to that, we just barely managed to break the shield before his shield phase is over. And when you break the shield, it deals a lot of damage to him. Effectively, if you don't break the shield, then you just don't break it and nothing happens. But if you do break the shield, all the damage that you dealt to the shield is now dealt to him. So you get like over 20% of his HP down just like that. And as you can see, right, we have a lot of wiggle room for the time here. It's pretty easy to do it in time. It ended up being a lot tighter than I needed to be because I fucking died like an idiot. I even died on Arlecchino at the same time as the Tulpa did. but we got it. And finally, the last day, which is probably the worst of the 4 bosses, not in terms of difficulty, just in terms of fun. This boss is honestly kind of boring. But yeah, so the crab always has really high resistances while it's shielded up. So you really want to break the shield, so you want to use Hydro units. And the shield is very, 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 very tanky. Anyways, after a little bit, he goes down like this. And he spawns these thingies, and if you don't break them in time, you die. And I believe this attack goes through iframes. Yeah. So this attack goes through iframes. So you absolutely need to break these thingies. On top of that, breaking them takes a lot out of the shield. So not only do you have to in order to avoid dying, but it also significantly helps you clear in time. The best way to set it up is to use either Kazuha or Sucrose's burst right as they're about to spawn. Because the AoE swirl is pretty much going to take care of it by itself. As you can see, we now have the shield over halfway down. He then spawns some lava here. If you stand in the lava, it heals him. So try not to stand in the lava. That's something I did not realize that. I did not realize until I got my plat. And while he's doing that, he also regenerates his shield. But once you finally break the shield, you just try to kill it in time. Anyways, it's honestly a very straightforward boss. There's not really much to say. It's really just a matter of making sure you have enough damage. I wasn't able to do this one without food either. Small reminder that the Neuvillette team with Farina is arguably the team that benefits the most from food in the game, because you cannot use multiple food items of the same type, which means that usually you can only have one food item that increases your damage and one potion that increases your damage. That being said, items that boost your defensive stats aren't considered to be offensive food items, which means you can have, or you can use a food that increases your HP and a food that increases your crit at the same time. So effectively, you can just get more from food on HP scalers than you can from on attack scalers. On top of that, Neuvillette and Farina are both Hydro HP scalers, which means both of them get increased by your Hydro potion, your HP potion, and your crit potion. Alright, so get some max HP food, some crit food, and some Hydro potion that I used ahead of time. So yeah, here after a little bit of experimenting, I figured that I had time to do EQ and one charge attack before my Kazuha burst. And I would get the thing to happen at the right time. And then it's just a matter of continuously dealing damage. Unless you have like a giga invested Neuvillette, you probably don't have enough damage to kill it if the only relevant damage happens while it's downed. So doing damage while it's shielded is still a pretty big deal. But yeah, here, like I said, I didn't realize at the time that standing in the lava heals him, so I was just healing him the whole time like an idiot. But we still got it. We still got it in time. One thing to potentially be careful about is if you're using Kazuha, you want to get self-pyro infusion or self-pyro absorption so that you get one more stack on Neuvillette. And if you swap into him and use E2 quickly, you might use it before the lava or whatever off-field, like whatever things are on the ground apply pyro to you, which is why when I swap to Kazuha here, I wait a little bit, I do a dash before I use my E. that helps us a lot. Because the stack lasts 30 seconds, you don't need to do it every time, but yeah, obviously this doesn't matter if you have C1 dividend. And here again is just a matter of getting as much damage out as quickly as possible. I almost died to that. Refresh your buffs as much as possible. And here, he even had time to shield back up, but that damage here was just barely enough to kill him. And yeah, that was the last boss. So overall, I really like this event. I might end up trying to see if I can still get platinum in co-op with other people. This is the sort of event that's really fun because you actually have a chance to die. It's not just a DPS check. Obviously there is a DPS check still, but the actual danger of dying has made this a lot more fun. But yeah, that pretty much does it for this video. I really enjoyed this event. I hope they keep giving us more like this. It's probably my favorite type of event. And hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned a thing or two. Hope you will be able to achieve platinum or at least gold if your account isn't quite at the investment to reach plat. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, YouTube.